Okay, welcome everyone to the Pumas 1.0 launch. Depending on which side of the world you're tuning in from, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Vijay Ivaturi, and I'm the co-founder and chief scientist at Pumas-AI. And today, I'm extremely thrilled that so many of you have tuned in to watch the live event for the Pumas 1.0 launch. It is a momentous occasion for us. And over the next 30 minutes, we will showcase everything about Pumas, what our company is about, and we'll hear some perspectives on the importance of modeling and simulation in this field. But before I get into the details of the agenda, I want to give you a brief backstory, a backstory of how we came to be how we are today. Back in 2016, late 2017, there was a physician colleague of mine had reached out to me suggesting that he was collecting data from smartphone gyroscopes for his patients. And these patients of his were on oncology medications and were susceptible to extreme peripheral neuropathy. And as most of you know, that higher the medication here, the disease, the side effects become severe and you tend to lose the gait. The patients tend to walk and may have a probability of falling down. So the physician wanted to collect this data and use this information real time to alter medications and to alter the dose and regimen if required. That got me thinking is like, how do we use such rich real-time sensor data and connect it back to our first principles of clinical pharmacology or even physiology and medicine? I was talking about this to a very good friend of mine and product consultant at Pumas, Joachim Nieberg. Joachim is a co-founder at Prometheus. And over a coffee conversation that we had at, I think at ASCPT 2017, we pretty much came to the conclusion that, if we really have to be ready for this new data era where we're getting real-time information, we need to think of building something from scratch, something that's new and something that is able to scale up. So I went back after this and did some research, and I had heard a lot about Julia at that point. So I ended up connecting on LinkedIn with Viral Shah, who is a co-founder of Julia Computing and also the co-creator of the Julia language. I reached out to him, called him and said, look, we want to do this from scratch. We have a vision. We want to build something that is ready for the next generation of analytics and the next generation of data. And Viral said, yeah, let's do it. Julia is the right platform for it. I preface that by saying, hey, the problem is that we don't have a lot of money. And Viral was kind enough to say, you know what, let's just get started. We'll see where we go. And he got us in touch with a small team back then. And that team met in 2018 in Boston. Simon Byrne and Chris Rakakis, Joachim Nieberg and me, we met in Boston over 2 days, brainstorming the entire thing and came up with a small prototype. Fast forward 1 year later at Orlando at ACOP 2019, we launched the alpha version of Pumas. And we got amazing reviews. We got roaring reviews about the product. That essentially, my friends, is the story of Pumas so far. 2019 August, we launched our alpha. 2019 in October, we portrayed our software to different stakeholders. And today we are here launching 1.0. So to go over the product, the company, and the impact that we may have into the drug development and clinical therapeutic space, I will invite a stellar range of speakers today. First to go up is Professor Joga Goburu, who is a faculty at UMB and also is a co-founder and chief operating officer at chief executive officer of Pumas-AI. Then we have David Lickrish, who is a CEO and chairman at Ironshore Pharmaceuticals, and Professor Alan Edelman from MIT, who is also the co-founder of Julia Computing and is the co-creator of Julia language along with Viral. So now I hand over the podium to Joga. You're muted, Joga.
Thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you everybody for joining us. here today on this very exciting day for us and hopefully for all of us in the near future. Today, we know more about medical sciences than ever before, and never has the need for continuous research and faster innovation more apparent than today as we all grapple with the pandemic. Next slide, please. Our mission is predictive analytics, but our vision is really advancing science, which is what we're celebrating today. As scientists, um, we'd like to ask questions, we'll like to design analysis, we'd like to interpret the results and convert those results into actions. Technology should be our slave. That should not come in the way of the scientific explorations. So we at Pumas AI would like to equip you and ourselves, the best minds in science, with revolutionary technology so you can focus on more important things and you can take science to new levels. As you see here, Pumas AI has two products. Pumas, which is the predictive analysis software, Live, which is the advanced clinical decision support system. Um, and these products empower those on the front lines of healthcare from discovery to delivery. Let's stay on this slide. So I need to say something about Pumas, which is we challenged the status quo. Why should the best minds in medical research settle for incremental improvements in technology and juggle a patchwork of programs that don't talk to each other? So we dared to invent a platform on the latest patented technology that is accurate, integrated, and powerful. And to the best of our knowledge, this is the fastest platform for predictive analytics yet. Next slide, please. A uh, personal reflection here is when I was a graduate student almost 25, 30 years ago, and I wanted to learn, you know, the pharmacometrics analysis and other, analysis. In fact, my thesis was on artificial intelligence. There were no resources. There were no software that I could use as a graduate student, and and that still haunts me. And we don't want any other aspiring scientists to have no access to such software. So we made a commitment to make Pumas available free for academic and non-commercial training and research. All you have to do is to click download and use it as long as you qualify as an academic researcher or a trainee. Next, we revolutionized the healthcare delivery using predictive analytics and machine learning, which is actually powered by Pumas under the hood. Healthcare professionals agree on one thing: the more personalized the treatment, the greater the therapeutic success. Live provides a real-time treatment trajectory recommendation and adjustments for each patient using intuitive clinical workflows. It is designed to help clinicians plan, act, monitor, adjust individualized patient management. Complex data are being available, like the genomic data, imaging, real-time mobile patient monitoring data. All these are processed using our patented technology, and our mission is really to make Live available on every healthcare professional's devices. And this would not have been possible without Pumas. Next, please. Throughout my career, I believed in one thing: inspire and bring bright people together, get out of the way, and they will do wonders. And this is exactly what we have done at Pumas AI. At the core of everything we do is our commitment to move science forward. We achieved this by bringing the best minds in pharmaceutical sciences, data science, engineering from University of Maryland, MIT, and Julia Computing. A special thank you for all my colleagues at University of Maryland, without whose support this would not have been possible. A special thank is also due to Julia Computing, who's our most trusted tech partner, and we work seamlessly. And again, without whose collaboration, we will not be here today launching these products. So without further delay, let me turn the podium to my colleague, my friend, Mr. David Licorice, who we have been working with for a long time. He's the chairman and CEO of Ironshore Pharmaceuticals and Development. David?
Joe, congratulations again, and thank you for the kind words. It really is a pleasure to be here today to say a few words about our history with Joga Kaburu and a team at Pumas. The nature of our partnership involves both the software and services. And our working relationship has always felt more like a partnership than a vendor manufacturer contract, which many of us have experienced in the pharmaceutical industry. Working as partners for over the past 6 years, we've accomplished what many felt was impossible. Our FDA-approved product, Jornay PM, was developed on the premise that clinical trial outcomes could be improved by optimizing the pharmacokinetics of a stimulant medication used for the treatment of ADHD. Early in the development process, we were introduced to Joga, who was philosophically aligned with our approach to drug development. To the best of my knowledge, Jornay PM is the only ADHD medication which was first created by modeling complex pharmacokinetics using advanced software, such as like Puma offers. Once we had a picture of the optimal pharmacokinetics, we were able to determine what drug delivery technology would be required to achieve the outcome we were pursuing. Unfortunately, that drug delivery technology did not exist, and we were required to create it over a period of several years. Of course, we did create it. It was no small effort. The results, however, exceeded all expectations we had heading into clinical trials. Although the regulatory path for the approval of ADHD medications was well established, Ironshore was pursuing a series of firsts, which made our task more challenging than most. Again, the team at Pumas was ideally positioned to help navigate the FDA approval process. Joga advised us on regulatory strategies to gain acceptance of novel endpoints, supported each request for additional information, and in many cases sat with us in front of the FDA. Joga's expertise saved shareholders millions of dollars and helped speed up the approval process by eliminating the need for clinical trials and instead showing important information to the FDA through simulations. Ultimately, this helped patients who benefited from treatment far sooner than they would have otherwise achieved. I must say a crowning achievement for both Ironshore and Pumas came just last week when the FDA approved the convoluted-based nonlinear level A in vitro in vivo model. Given the unique properties of the Jornay PM formulation, traditional modeling approaches had failed to produce an acceptable IV-IBC model. Through out-of-the-box thinking, the Pumas team, in collaboration with the agency, were able to develop, validate, and gain approval of a truly innovative model. The approval of this model will save our company millions of dollars and dramatically enhance operating efficiency by demonstrating the manufacturing specifications could be adjusted without compromising the in vivo performance of the drug. I can confidently say that there are only a few people in the world who possess the knowledge, the insight, and the technical capability to achieve this result. They all work together in partnership with our team at Ironshore. Pumas has a world-class team of domain experts led by Joga and scientific computing expertise from Julia Computing. The Pumas software will revolutionize the field of predictive analytics from drug development to healthcare delivery. It has been built, I should say purpose-built, for scientists by scientists. Again, I want to congratulate the entire team for the release of Pumas 1.0. I'm confident this will be the software of choice for the pharmaceutical industry. Joga, thank you very much, and I'll turn it over to Vijay.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much. Next, I would like to introduce Professor Alan Edelman, who's a professor of applied mathematics at MIT, and has, I mean, anybody coming from the Julia world knows Professor Alan very well. So in 2004, he founded the Interactive Supercomputing, which was acquired by Microsoft. His research interests include high performance computing, numerical computation, linear algebra, and stochastic eigenanalysis. He has received numerous awards, among which are the Gordon Bell Prize and Householder Prize. And he's also a fellow of the IEEE and the Sidney Fernbach Award of the IEEE. Alan?
Thanks so much, Vijay. And I'd like very much to echo what David said, that working with Joga and Vijay is like working with the best of friends. They have this incredible vision for technology that is leading beyond any colleague that I could think of. So as Vijay was saying, I've co-founded a few companies, all with the goal of modernizing and speeding up computation. And when it comes to bringing technology to life and not just leaving it in the classroom, I'm there. There are so many great new technologies and algorithms today: big data, machine learning, optimization. I mean, you've heard them all. But of course, there's so much complexity as well. It's hard to keep all of these balls up in the air at the same time, right? There's so much to put together today. And nonetheless, scientists need the latest tools, and they need a way of bringing them all together. And Pumas is very much filling the gap by marrying what scientists need to the latest tools, the latest tools by scientists. So can I say a little bit about the underlying Julia technology? I have a little prop here that I'll hold up. If you were here in the audience, I would give you, these are stickers you can peel off. I'll give you all these stickers to put on your telephones or your laptops or something. But may I tell you a little bit about the Julia technology that underlies Pumas? Julia is a programming language. You've heard of some programming languages like Java or Python or C++. But Julia is fast, like really, really fast, and yet easy on the human, which is kind of always thought of as like being an impossible combination. But Julia is fast and easy on the human. But most importantly, Julia is what we call composable. And what that means in simple English is that programs written by some group over here can readily be used by another group over there. In fact, they interact together. It's not like you just build a program and then there's a wall and then there's this other program, like a silo. The programs actually literally interact with each other. So guess what happens when you have a situation like this? Scientists developing the latest techniques and software, well, they want their software to be used. Like, you think about it, like a book author writing a novel, right? Why does somebody write a novel? Well, I mean, a novelist wants readers, right? Well, the same thing happens with scientists. Scientists write software, they want it to be used. They want people around the world to use it in the very same way. And so because Julia is designed to be composable, what's happening, and it's happening worldwide, is that the best algorithmic people in the world, the best people in AI, the best people in machine learning, the best people doing algorithms, they're all contributing their latest work directly into Julia. And that's creating an amazing ecosystem by scientists for science, as the tagline for Pumas is saying. And it's happening in so many areas. It's happening, climate scientists are doing this. People are looking to heal the planet together by using Julia technology. Designers of efficient machines are working together using Julia technology. It's kind of amazing to find out that there's this group in Europe and another group at MIT and another group at Southeast Asia. And somehow all the software is just working together naturally for science, not through some deliberate management by a human who's orchestrating it all. It's just sort of happening naturally with Julia. So now Julia's getting the best algorithms, the best AI, and probably what's even most important to me anyway, is the best people. So as a professor, I'm heartened to see Julia being taught at the best universities. Of course, what young people are learning is a great leading indicator of what everybody's going to be using in the future. And to be honest, my co-founders of the Julia project and I dreamed that there would be a fundamental shift of how science would be done. And it's happening. And the technology and the technologists, you see two of them in front of you behind Pumas, understand that it's no longer enough to just build an application old school way and just remain static. That doesn't fly anymore. Now you have to move along and build on top of the world's greatest scientists and be carried upward by them. So Pumas has taken incredible advantage of the algorithmic ecosystem made possible by Julia, recognizing that since we're all in this together, we can truly work together to harness the best amongst all of us. So Vijay and Joga, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. Good luck.
Thank you so much, Alan. And thank you again, David. I'm going to take us through the next 10 minutes to showcase what we have. At Pumas, we have a really, really bold vision. We are building an ecosystem for predictive health analytics, an ecosystem that allows integration of analytics across different health sectors. It's just not across different health sectors. Such integration will allow innovation. And I just lost my mouse, just a moment. Will allow innovation. And this innovation is because you now are able to ask questions that span across the different sectors of analyses. When you ask such questions which span across the different sectors, there is more cross speak, which means the uncertainty in decision making is propagated. And remember, here the recipient of the decision is the patient. So we want to minimize the uncertainty that is going down to the patient. And it is time we come up with tools that are more integrated across the entire spectrum. This ecosystem also recognizes the scale that is required in the next generation. We are talking about troves of data coming in due to the explosion of technology. We want to be ready for it. Our current technology cannot marry the first principles with the new age. Puma's ecosystem has been built from the ground up to take care of this new data deluge that is coming in. And while all these are important aspects, we want to connect these dots with the modern analytics, the big data systems, with the core first principles, that is science. We want to make sure that our science is well taken care of. And Pumas 1.0 is focused on making sure that we have the core technology and the core modules that take care of the science. So in Pumas 1.0, we have specific domain modules. These include modules for nonlinear mixed effects modeling, non-compartmental analysis, bioequivalence, physiologically based pharmacokinetic modeling, and quantitative systems pharmacology modeling. These different modules allow you to analyze data all the way from preclinical research to clinical research, and also beyond beyond approval into post-marketing, right? This is one platform that does it all. It has infinite potential. It is accurate, it's fast, it's super simple to use, which we will showcase in a simple small demo. It's integrated and highly scalable, which is also something that you will see. And most importantly, it is pro research. It is accessible because we want to democratize the availability of tools and education in this field. For far too long, these methods in science have been sitting only in the hands of people who have the tools available, but we want to make it more available across the world. It's also important to understand what our plans are post 1.0, right? We are marrying getting in scientific machine learning. The organization led by Chris Rackauckus and his team in the Julia ecosystem into Pumas. That is called as deep NLME. This is bringing the best of machine learning while respecting the domain constraints of our physiological and pharmacological modeling, and that is deep NLME. We have an end-to-end clinical trial simulator that is coming up, which will allow you to minimize the risks before going into actual trials. Then we are coming up with a pharmaceutical manufacturing analysis. It is important to understand that all the way from manufacturing of the formulations and the products to the delivery to the patients, we need to keep track of everything and make it integrated. So we have modules coming for pharmaceutical manufacturing analysis. And one thing that is not very well taken care of in our field is health economics and research and outcomes research. It is very important that our first principles always connect to this. And that is also something that's coming up post 1.0. But trust me, folks, none of this is possible without a great stellar team in the back end, right? I want to take a moment to thank multiple members of our team. Andreas Nowak, who has made stellar contributions to the Julia ecosystem. I think he's in the top 10 contributors to the Julia language itself, has been leading the NLME and the statistical portions of Pumas. He is methodical and a great contributor to our ecosystem. Chris Rackauckus has been in the forefront, developing the differential equation ecosystem, which is world-class and probably the best in class out there. Then you have Patrick, whose optim.jl library is probably used in every modeling software that's available in Julia. And it's in the, accordingly, it's in the top 10 of the most used libraries in Julia. And Joachim has been fundamental in helping us make sure that we got the technical aspects correct, especially with regards to the domain. I'd also like to thank Jose Bayon, whose efforts helped us get the bioequivalence package, Vaibhav, Shubham, and Yingbo, who have tirelessly, right from their days of the Google's Summer of Code, have contributed in immense amounts to various aspects of the Pumas ecosystem. I thank each one of you. And as Joga had mentioned earlier, a big thanks to Julia Computing. They have driven a lot of the technical aspects, a lot of the delivery aspects to the end consumer, you, the analyst. And now I will take a few minutes to show you what our friends at Julia Computing, especially Matt Bauman, stayed up late last night to make sure that we have a good demo ready for you, giving you a sneak peek of what is available in the next version of Pumas.
Hello, my name is Matt Bauman. I'm the Director of Applications Engineering at Julia Computing, and it's my pleasure to demonstrate to you how you can get your Pumas models up and running on the cloud very easily and effortlessly. I have here loaded in my Visual Studio IDE a Pumas model. It's set up to model the treatment of hepatitis C. It's a PK/PD model with the pharmacokinetics modeling the drug absorption and elimination, when the pharmacodynamics modeling the level of the infection itself. You can see here, this is a very standard Pumas model with 16 parameters and 5 differential equations here, all set up, very easy to write and understand and work on. So you can learn all about this with the great Pumas documentation. I'm not going to talk too much about this because I want to focus on getting this up and running on a large, beefy computer. Right now, I'm just running this on my laptop, which doesn't have that much resources available to me. And this particular problem here, we can scale up with potentially lots of subjects here. Maybe let's do 50 subjects. And we can fit this to, define exactly how we want it to be defined. You can see here, this is the main entry point for the heavy-duty compute. You can fit this model that we defined with those 5 differential equations and 16 parameters against some data. In this case, our data is simply some simulated data that we've loaded in. And these parameters, you can see all the different parameters there as they're defined and their initial values. And we're going to approximate this using FOCEI. Now, the cool part about this is that you can set this up to be multi-threaded. And so you can use as many threads as your computer has. And again, on my laptop, I just have a handful of cores. So I don't get too much speed up here with multiple threads. But I have access to a large machine in the cloud that I can use. And to see that, we can pull up Julia Hub. And this will connect in to a server that will manage that configuration for me, give me the ability to deploy this onto the cloud. So you can see here it's connected into my server on Julia Hub. It's going to set it up so that way I can use this file as my file to deploy. Now the fun part here is I can choose the configuration of my machine and, hey, let's use 32 cores. That means 32 threads available to my compute. On some problems, we can even scale up the number of machines. So not only do you have 32 cores, but you could have, say 10 of those machines to give you lots of compute available to you. We'll set this up so that we have 1 Julia process per machine. So that means our 1 Julia process that we'll use on our 1 node is going to have 32 threads available to it. And you can get a sense of the cluster cost here. We can start this job and kick it off. This will take just a few minutes to complete. And so instead of waiting for that to complete, I have a already completed version here that I've already submitted, and we can take a look. Once it completes, you have the results button right here where you can click on it and it will download the results for you. And we can go in here then and say, hey, let's deserialize these results. Let's load them into our namespace and maybe if we make this bigger here, you can see all the estimates that we've used, those 16 parameters, and get things up and running. You may go back to your model then and say, okay, well, let's inspect it a little bit. Let's take a look at how it's doing. We could potentially plot some aspect of it. So here you can see we can go in and very quickly and easily plot out the gradient of the norm of the gradient as it's doing its optimization. So on the x-axis there are all the iterations that have completed, and you can see that the gradient indeed did find a flat section at the bottom of a valley, so that's a good sign. Even more fun though is you can go in and say let's plot a particular subject. And you can look at the PK and the PD aspects of this particular subject. And in this case, it looks like we did indeed treat this subject. And this is over the course of 28 days. And we've simulated 50 of these subjects in very short order using a beefy machine in the cloud. Now this is all built atop of Julia Hub, which if you go navigate to it, it looks something like this, where you can inspect all the packages that Julia has to offer. And soon, in short order, we'll have the ability to run in cloud. And here, this is exactly the same table that I submitted from my job, from my IDE. So here you can see this is the job that's currently running with 32 threads that I just submitted, and it's waiting for its outputs. Down here at the table, you can see these jobs that I've already completed, where I've successfully minimized them, or maybe not, and iterated, found different things, worked on them. You can see I have at my fingertips here the success, the log likelihood, and the duration, how much time is spent in the cloud. So this is how you can interface with this. And in fact, this scales to extraordinarily large applications. So here we have registered another application, another Pumas model. In this case, it's QSP, that has many, many more differential equations defining it, fitting 56 parameters over a much larger virtual population. And we can just deploy this in the cloud using the exact same UI. Now, what's really cool is I can go in here and modify it. Since this is versioned and tagged, I can just go in and say, hey, let's set a number of subjects to 100. And this takes a lot of iterations to confirm. So the number of iterations here, let's set them to be 1 million. And you can go in, set this up exactly how you want. And now, in this case, this is set up to be using distributed compute. So I can set up a cluster, say, with 12 workers, each with 8 cores, get a very large suite of jobs and submit those very easily, very quickly, and scale up to see your results.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. There's a little more about in the video, but in the interest of time, I'm going to point you all to the video on our YouTube channel that is going to be uploaded pretty soon. And with that, I am extremely excited to tell you that we have, just as a couple of minutes ago, made Pumas 1.0 live. You can go down to the products page. Let me just walk that along with you here. Yep. So Pumas 1.0, it's just been released. You can download for Windows, Mac, Linux machines. And if you want to learn more about the Pumas, you just go to the resources tab, where you'll find documentation, tutorials, and obviously a discourse page. And very quickly, I want to showcase that all the documentations, after a lot of feedback from you, we've updated a lot of the documentation. There's still a long way to go, but we'll get there. There's comprehensive tutorials, and also the discourse page, where you can ask us a lot of questions. So after you download, you have any issues, you have questions on how to model, please reach out to us via the discourse page. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to Joga, who will finish up with his closing remarks. Joga?
Yeah, thank you. I think this was, the way I see it, a very successful launch of the company PumasAI and its products. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Just to wrap things up, our commitment is to empower the scientists to do more and more innovative stuff. So we have 3 offerings from PumasAI, the company, Pumas product. That's what you have seen. And then we have Live. We're going to have a launch for that soon. And then we also offer consultancy. Now, all in all, our spirit is still to democratize the tools, as Vijay was mentioning. And a special thanks to all our collaborators, University of Maryland, MIT, Julia Computing, and thank you, personal thanks to David Allen for joining us and making this event really special. So we hope to see you as a Pumas user in the near future. Take care.
Thank you everyone for joining, and go download Pumas.